Hello, 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 everyone. Hello, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube. Welcome to another week of Light 360. So excited to bring you another episode. I've been enjoying this Light 360 since we've been doing it. This is season 2, and Season 2 has been really, really awesome. Season 1 was great. Season 2 has been just on another level. And I have been having a wonderful, wonderful time hosting these great individuals that have been coming on and sharing their stories on the Light 360 broadcast. I'm so excited about today. First of all, I would like to thank everyone who has been sending me messages and just talking about the impact of the program on them. Somebody's story inspired you, somebody's story spoke to you. So I really want to appreciate that. Also, those who have been following in their comments when we're having the show, I want to appreciate you all. As you guys can see, I am broadcasting live today, not from my studio, but from my office in Chicago. So it's going to be a great one. I see people joining. Thank you for joining us. As I usually will ask, if you want to, just tell me where you are watching from. That will be good. So let me quickly say this. The Light 360 is set up for a very simple purpose. The plan is to use other people's stories to inspire people, like to use stories to inspire other stories. So the secret of great people are in their stories. So as people start sharing their stories, there are things that we pick up, there are things that we learn, and then there are things that inspire us. So that's how it has been. So there are certain people that we bring on to Light 360, and they just talk. We just have fun talking and chatting, and then people are inspired through their story. So that's what Light 360 is about. 360 is 360 degrees. So we look for light everywhere, and we share their stories in order to get other lights all over the place to be lights for Christ. So the people that we bring on, actually, most of them, like 99% of them, they are people who have gone through the Leading Lights training that we conduct. So I'm looking forward to a powerful story today. So without wasting any time, I will be bringing on our guests for today. Let me introduce her first before I bring her on. So I call her my favorite daughter. I know some people are going to be jealous when they hear this. She's very, very, very special to Debo and I. We met many years ago. Probably, I'm trying to remember. It's gonna be going to like 10 years now. So, but she was in Chicago when we met. She came to Chicago. Actually, we met before she came to Chicago. And then she moved to Chicago, and she came to Chicago. Then part of the City Light Church, but more than part of the City Light Church, she became a part of our family. Just went through a lot of things in life together. The work of planting the church, starting the Life Development Center, the Leading Lives training, doing building constructions. I remember times that we're doing this construction. She was one of those people that I would go to. Then, if there's something that needs to be done, and she'll just, Pastor Lam, got to get this done. She'll go organize different things, to get it done. I remember times that, we will be working on the construction, and she will spend overnight, just watching to see that things go well. Was in the choir, the Light Development Center, Nick Center then, and all that. Just so many things, and a lot of memories, a lot of stories. And when we were kicking up the Leading Lights training in Nigeria also, she was the one that hosted the Leading Lights training in Abuja. A powerful time. So this is someone very dear to me, very dear to Debo. She's a spiritual daughter. We're proud of her. She is an accomplished person, as you're going to hear. She has a very unique story. of just working with God and fulfilling our purpose professionally, impact upon people, spreading the light of Christ in just the different spheres of influence that God has put her. So, and she's a woman of God. She's she's in love with Jesus. Newly, well, not newly married, but comparatively, but she's a new mother also. So, just awesome. So, without wasting any more time, let's welcome to Light 360, Maryam Garba.
Thank you very much for having me.
Your new last name, Ovabor. Your husband's last name, is it Ovabor or Ovabor?
Ovabor.
Ovabor. All right. Welcome, Maryam.
Thank you very much for having me.
Yeah. So we have people on Facebook now and Instagram, Twitter, YouTube. So they want to hear your story. Are you nervous, excited?
I think I'm really excited, actually. So
awesome.
This will be good. Yes.
Some people before we go on, they're like, I don't know. And then after we finish, they just enjoy themselves. They were like, wow, they would text us, like, wow, that was so much fun. I'm like, I told you, we're just talking. Yeah. And people are listening to both of us talking, So, yeah. So, welcome to Light 360. I've really missed you,
I've missed you too.
In a long, a long while. Yeah.
Yes.
So, how is Nate?
Nate is very well. He's doing great.
Awesome. That's our husband. And then your new son. What's his name of your son? I almost can't believe that Maryam is a mom now,
I can't believe it myself. It's still sinking in. I mean, every day I look at my son and I'm like, is this really my son? Like this, I'm responsible for this young boy. His name is Jarrett Maryam Ovabor.
Wow.
And Jarrett means a strong leader. So
wow. That's so they will call you Mother JJ.
That is
is that your new name now? Mama
yes,
J.
Mommy JJ, yes. Yes, Mommy JJ, yes.
Mommy JJ. Awesome.
Yes.
Awesome.
JJ, like JJ Okocha.
JJ, yeah. All right, so let's go into it. My first question for everybody that comes on is, who are you? Who is Maryam Garba?
Okay. Maryam is, of course, first of all, loved by God. I'm God's daughter. And that has taken on a whole new meaning now that I've become a mom, because I'm starting to really understand a bit more the love a parent has for their child. So first of all, I'm loved by God. I am his daughter. Mm-hmm. Secondly, I am also a very passionate person. I am an entrepreneur. Mm-hmm. I'm an educator. Mm-hmm. I'm a wealth builder. I enjoy talking about, thinking about, planning for wealth.
Yeah, we need to talk about money on Light 360. Maybe today is the day we're going to do that.
Okay. I'm happy to talk about money. I love money. I love money, and I love talking about money.
Yeah.
So that's fine.
Yeah.
Yes, and I'm also a leader. It sounds a bit like I'm bragging, I know, to say all of these things, but I think in many ways, I'm owning those different identities, because that's the life that I'm living. So I'm a leader, I'm a business owner, I'm an entrepreneur, I'm an educator, I'm a mom, I'm a wife, I'm a daughter, I'm a granddaughter. Mm-hmm. So all of those good things.
Awesome. I forgot to mention that you are calling from Abuja in Nigeria, yes. The capital of Nigeria. So, yes. So Maryam is it's an what do you call it? Over the Atlantic conversation, cross-Atlantic conversation we're having today. So you mentioned a bunch of things about yourself and all that, just as an introduction. Yes. So, I mean, I wanted us to explore how all that came to be. So some things I know about you, but some from what you are going to maybe share or reveal today. So you say you're an entrepreneur, professional. Your fans, they're already welcoming you. All your
yes, I can see them. Hi, Grandma. Great Grandma.
Yes. So tell me, your background, yeah, like your family background, your parents and all that, like siblings and all that. Just growing up, how was it? Were you born in Abuja?
No, I was born in Lagos actually.
Okay.
I was born in Lagos, but a few years later, my parents moved to Abuja. My father first, because he was a banker and he got transferred to manage a branch that the bank was opening in Abuja. So my father came to Abuja first, and my family followed, or the rest of the family followed a year later. So I grew up in an entrepreneurial family. My family is very close. I come from a family of 7. My mom and my dad, and I have 4 siblings. My family is very close. We grew up as a very close-knit family. Both my mother and my father actually came from abject poverty, both of them. In fact, when my father was in secondary school, there's a story he tells us all the time. He grew up in the village. He got scholarships throughout his education. And when he finished secondary school, he got a scholarship to go to university. But his secondary school refused to release his results because he hadn't paid school fees for 6 years. And he had gotten a scholarship to the university, but he couldn't go without presenting his secondary school results. So he had to work washing cars for some people in the community for an entire year to save up the money that he needed to pay for his transcript. So that's how bad their poverty was. My mother as well, her father died when she was 2 and left 9 children behind, and her mother was a farmer. So both of them grew up in the village. My mom had to drop out of school, and they never really had the opportunity to go to school at the right time. So both of my parents, I think, coming out of the economic struggles that they faced growing up, they both grew up with a fierce sense of determination. And I feel extremely privileged to have been born into this family because, you know, in the family now, both of my parents are breakouts on both sides. So they really did well to train us in a home where we saw the importance of entrepreneurship. The entrepreneurial spirit that my parents had was what lifted us out of poverty. And I see through their story that it is possible in one generation to take a family from extreme poverty to extreme comfort, because we're extremely comfortable now. There's obviously still more that we'd like to, there's greater comfort that we'd like to have in our lives, but there's nothing that we lack for now. We're employers of hundreds of people, and we're in a very comfortable place as a family. So I grew up watching parents who were very entrepreneurial and very determined, and that has influenced to a great extent the person that I've become.
I have some questions for you on that. So that's a powerful thing you said. That it's possible for someone to lift the family in one generation from extreme poverty to at least, you know, some level of wealth and comfort.
Absolutely.
Which is what God allowed your parents to do. God bless them to be able to do. From observing them, what are some of the things you have noticed, you know, that you noticed about their life that was the secret of that? For someone who is watching right now and it's like, I think I'm the first generation that wants to break out of that poverty. What are some things that you have noticed from your parents that you can share with people like that? Yeah.
I think I would say one of the greatest things that I've observed from them is resilience and not giving up. There's a quote my father has on his DP, on his WhatsApp DP. My father never changes his WhatsApp DPs, and he keeps them on for years and years and years. And we would always tease him about it, but this quote has been there for so long that I've memorized it. It says, patience with God is faith. Patience with yourself is, patience with God is trust. Patience with others is wisdom. Patience with yourself is faith. And what that means is that, or what I've come to interpret that to mean was that they were patient with themselves when they were starting different businesses that were not working out. My mother got married at 25. And from that point, she started trying different businesses. She sold ice cream. She sold ice cubes. She sold almost everything. She moved from Kaduna to Lagos to be with my father. And she didn't have the experience of living in a big city. So once she got there, she was selling anything she could. She tried to buy land. She was duped. She tried so many different businesses. But it wasn't until 1997 when she started a school. At the time, my mother was 37 years old. So I'm not even at the age that she was when she finally had a successful business. But at 37, she eventually started a school that grew. And that was ultimately sort of the principal source of, it's become the principal form of livelihood, I would say, for my mother. And the school led to other businesses that were just as successful. But really, I think just that resilience. My father had a similar experience as well. He worked as a bank He was a banker for a while, left the bank, started a real estate company that wasn't doing very well, but he kept persevering. Eventually, he was able to acquire properties, started to develop properties, and that's when he also started to do quite well in business. So I've learned the importance of just not giving up. It's okay if things take a little longer. Not every entrepreneur breaks out or becomes extremely successful with their first business, but every business teaches you the lesson that prepares you for the next one. So it's not a waste.
So at what age did they break through? Like, like what age, like your dad?
In their late 30s.
Okay.
My mom was 37 years old when she started the school, and the school started to turn a profit when she was about 40. So it took her about 3 years. She was obviously able to, cover her costs after about 2 years. But for her to really, before she really started turning a profit was when she was 40. That was when she actually also went back to school.
She
Following
went
all
back
the
to
years
work.
that she had been out of school. Yes, because she never really had the opportunity to be educated because she was poor, or she grew up in a poor family.
Yeah.
So it was really when they were approaching 40 that their business enterprises started to pay off. My father eventually also ventured into politics, and the training that he had in business prepared him for politics, because the first time that he ran for a federal seat, he lost to the incumbent, and he didn't give up. He waited and tried 4 years later, and this time around he was successful, and he's been re-elected 3 times since then. So it was sort of like just a failure. That's, if he had given up then, he would have missed out on almost 12 years of being able to serve his people.
So you feel like the major thing about them is their resilience. Like, they did not give up, just like what your dad did in politics again. Even though they failed at first, or things didn't work out at first, they didn't fall backward. They failed forward. There's a way you can fail backwards.
Yes.
Quit.
You,
But
you
they failed
pull.
forward. They just continued and continued until they reached a breakthrough. That's is that what you would say to someone who is like well, they've tried all kinds of businesses now, but they've never been able to break through in it?
Yes.
What will you
Yes.
speak to such people now?
Yes, you have to fail forward. And for me as well, as someone who's also started businesses, some of which were successful, some of which were not, I think you just have to keep trying. There's that voice, and I think it's the voice of the enemy that tells you sometimes, if you failed in a business before, it comes to you. Like, I struggle with this sometimes. The voice comes and says, well, this business is going to be just like the other one that didn't succeed. You're going to struggle. You're not going to have customers. You're not going to get clients. You don't have the skills for this position. You don't have the qualifications. You don't have the network. But you have to just push through all that and keep going, because the business idea that you have might just be the opportunity that people are waiting for, or just the thing that people around you need. So it's important to push through that self-doubt to be able to still go ahead and get started. You don't know if that's the business that will eventually pay off.
Awesome. So let's continue with your story. So you got born into that great entrepreneurial heritage. Then tell us how your journey continued, from there, your schooling and all that.
Yes. So because my parents never really had the opportunity to have the educational opportunity that they had, especially my mother, one of the things that they decided was that their children were going to get the best education they could afford. My father always tells us as well that in addition to entrepreneurship, the one thing that took him out of the village and took the village out of him was his education.
Wow.
His parents were villagers, but he got a 5-star education because he got scholarships all the way. So my parents never joked with our education. They dedicated most of their resources growing up to making sure that we went to the best schools. And it eventually paid off, because when we started getting into university, we were getting into the best universities in the world. My older brother got into Princeton, he got into Stanford, he got into Oxford University in the UK. And when I came after, I got into Stanford as well. I got into some other very good universities in the UK. I eventually decided to go to Stanford. After Stanford, I went to Harvard, and the siblings who came after me as well went to very good schools. So my parents invested heavily in our education when we were younger, and they don't regret that investment. They look at us now and they say they're very proud that they never had the opportunity, but they have children now that have graduated from the best universities in the world, and they don't know what more they could want. So that was the educational experience that I had. I went to schools not just in Nigeria, but in the UK, in the US. I went to an all-girls school, I went to mixed schools, I went to day schools, I went to boarding schools. Whatever the best school was, my parents would do their research. At the time, the internet wasn't even as dominant as it is now. It was newspapers, news articles, people talking and things like that. But my parents were avid researchers. They asked and they made sure that we got the best educational opportunity. They also saved heavily for our education to make sure that we had a very good educational background. So I did all that. I graduated from Stanford, and Stanford is actually where I discovered the City Light Church. It was while I was at Stanford that I came to know about the City Light Church.
We're going to talk about that in a moment.
Yes.
So, I was just thinking, your parents are just wonderful people, because sending your kids to all those schools, like I'm sending, my wife and I, we're sending kids to school now. We know how expensive these schools can be. But to think of all those schools I just mentioned, were they paying, or you had scholarships or what?
Okay, so in some cases they paid, and at other times they didn't. So for instance, when we got into Stanford, when my brother got into Stanford, my brother got into Stanford first, and when I got in, that was the second child in 3 years that was going to be in an Ivy League, well, not an Ivy League, but a very expensive US school. So I qualified for financial aid based on the fact that there were two of us in college at the same time. So it took off about 60% of the bill for my parents.
Okay.
And then I also worked on campus, so that helped to offset some of my personal expenses. But something I know that my parents did, and that is paying off, because I still have a sister. My youngest sister is in college right now. The Naira and the dollar has just gone up exponentially ever since COVID started. So right now it's about $1 is about 455 Naira. When I came back to Nigeria 4 years ago, it was 220. So it's more than doubled.
Yeah.
And we're paying full fees, even though she's studying online. But one of the things I noticed that they did that's still helping us now is that they saved. They saved. My parents are very good savers. They save a significant percentage of their income every year.
Yeah.
And that's why they were able to do a lot of the things. When I went to graduate school at Harvard, the bill was about $70,000 US, and my parents paid everything. I didn't have any scholarship. My parents paid it all.
Wow.
And they've done that for all five of us because, when I was in the US, for instance, I met a lot of people who were burdened by
student loan
debt. Yes, I had a lot of loans, and I didn't realize how much my parents had done for me until I started meeting people like that. But they started planning in advance, and they sometimes they needed the money, sometimes they didn't. But even up until now, my parents are extreme savers. They save a lot.
So we're going to talk about wealth, later. So, and savings and all that. We're going to talk about all that. So let's move on. So, what about your journey with God? How did that go? You are Fulani, right?
Hausa.
Southern
Kaduna. Hausa.
Okay, Southern Kaduna. So, how did you become a Christian?
Okay, so I come from the southern part of the north. So sometimes we get mixed up because our names are northern, our food is northern. Sometimes we look northern. I don't look very northern, but we tend. Kaduna State is considered a middle belt state. It's one of the places in Nigeria where the north and the south meet. So, I'm fortunate to come from the southern part of the north. So of course, Christianity came into Nigeria from the south, and Islam came in from the north. So both influences were traveling almost simultaneously, and they met in a place like Kaduna State. So for to a great extent, the state is still extremely mixed. The Christians are minorities, so we're less than 1/3, less than 1/5 of the entire population of the state. But I'm really fortunate because the missionaries actually got to the village where my grandparents and my great grandparents grew up. So we grew up as Christians. The Catholic mission was strong in that part of the country, as well as the Equa mission, which is known as the Evangelical Church of West Africa. Yes, those are the two missionary bodies that were very, very influential.
God bless those people. When you just mentioned that the missionaries came, my mind just went to one guy or one lady who left their country many, many years ago, and said they were going to Africa and they were going to go and preach Christ. And that's how somebody in your, your lineage,
In my lineage, yes.
listened to them and became a Christian. And that began the journey of you, first of all, being a nominal Christian, which
Right.
eventually led to your own personal experience. It just tells me that sometimes we don't know the impact of what we're doing now,
Yes.
how
Yes.
it could be transgenerationally.
Exactly. Because if that person had maybe delayed for another year, perhaps the jihadists
Yes.
would have gotten there first, and we could have been Muslim at this point. Not, it's just like you said, it's important to listen to and obey the voice of God.
Yeah. We're not against Muslims or anything, but
yes, but it's just the reality. Yes, that's how Islam came to Nigeria. So
yeah. Wow, awesome. Well, thank God for that person. That God bless that person in heaven or whatever for coming. Because
Amen.
the person did not even know that in their coming, maybe centuries ago or whatever, they were actually even investing in city lights too.
Right.
Now in Chicago. I'm just telling you, just thinking about it as we were talking.
Connection. Yeah.
Yeah, just thinking about the extent of what we do that we do not have any idea, of right now. So everybody watching, you need to be, encouraged to follow after God's purpose for you, wherever He has put you, whatever He's told you to do, to put yourself into it, because you don't know the impact of that thing and how it's even going to go beyond your lifetime to keep influencing people. Yeah, that's powerful. So, but what about, so tell me, so you were born into that and all that. How do you develop your own personal, when you meet Jesus Christ, became a Christian, born again, all that?
Yes. Okay, so I was born in Lagos to parents who are from Kaduna State. And like I said earlier, my parents always sought out the best education. So I actually started going to boarding school when I was only 8 years old. I went to a missionary boarding school in Jos. It was also an ECWA church or an ECWA school. It was actually a school that was founded for the missionaries, American missionaries in Nigeria. But of course, the standard of education was so good that a lot of Nigerians wanted their children to go there. So once they had admitted all of the missionary children, they would then admit other Nigerian children on the basis of merit. So my brothers and I earned places there on the basis of merit, and we were admitted as boarders. So we went there very early. It was an amazing school. Our entire lives were built around the Word of God. It was a Christian school. We went to chapel every Sunday, twice a day. Sunday was the highlight of the week because we would all get to wear our church clothes. We learned to play musical instruments. I was taught to play the piano so that we could play in church. We were taught bells, so many different things, and we were taught by missionaries. So that was really where I first started to learn about God. And these missionaries came to Nigeria with their entire family. So they were raising their children in Nigeria. Their children were in our schools, and they loved God's work. They had abandoned their families, their livelihoods in the US and come to help Nigeria. They built the school with their resources as well. And they were only billing the fees that they required to run the school. It was completely non-profit. So I was there for 3 years until I turned 10. And then I went then to secondary school in the southwestern part of the country, in Kwara State Adese College, which was also one of the top secondary schools in Nigeria at the time. So I went there, and that was actually where I gave my life to Christ.
Is that where GB, when you know GB?
Yes, that's where I met Bimini. Yes, Bimini was a year ahead of me.
Okay.
Yes, and that's where I met Soji as well. Soji was the person who brought me to City Light.
Exactly.
Yes, so my secondary school was integral to me coming to City Light, my secondary school experience. So in secondary school, I think in JS2 was when I gave my life to Christ. There was a Reverend Damcher, who used to handle our Sunday services. And he preached one day. And there was this drama group from University of Ilorin. They came and they presented a show. It was very scary actually, because they had the devil and they looked so real. It was very well acted, and they were so passionate. I mean, most of the people that went to my secondary school were from an affluent background. So we didn't really sort of we all spoke well, we had nice clothes and things of the sort. But these were college students that came from a public university. And I remember when the play started, we were actually laughing at them because there was a guy, I will never forget, there was a guy in the play and his name was Matthew Martins. And when the devil started calling him, the devil in the play, he was saying Matthew Martins. And we were laughing because we were like, these guys don't even know how to pronounce TH.
Yeah.
You know, Matthew Martins. But as the play progressed and we saw what happened to Matthew Martins, it didn't matter anymore that they could not speak English or that they were making mistakes.
Yeah.
We were all moved. We all started to cry. There was an altar call after, and that's when I really authentically gave my life to Christ. And you know, obviously since then I've had to keep at the time when I was in secondary school, we used to call it rededications because maybe you fall off the wayside and things like that. But now I just know that once you've given your life, you've given your life. You know, you just keep you keep up your walk with God. But yeah, secondary
Thank
school.
God. You know what I'm seeing right now, so far in our discussion, the theme that I'm saying is just this legacy theme. You know, first of all, your parents, they went through all kinds of stuff to establish a legacy for you guys. And then thinking about the missionaries that came to Africa, then thinking about this reverend that you were talking about and this team that came to minister, it's just coming to me that we do not know the extent to which what we do now in obedience to God will go. We just have to yield, especially in ministering to people of the next generation, you know, because people always have a particular influence in their lives that just created that turnaround in one area or the other. You know, sometimes it could be a teacher, it could be a principal, it could be parent, it could be, you know, it's just amazing. And to see that that's part of what you are doing right now with the next generation. Well, we're going to talk about that. Yeah. So let's go to Harvard, Stanford, and all that. What else? How is it to go through such schools? You know,
it's amazing. You know, it sets you up for life. It opens doors. However, I don't feel that that's what defines me, because I think that to be successful in life ultimately requires so much more than pedigree or the kinds of schools that you go to. Yeah. But does it make a difference? Absolutely. In conversations, in interviews, it opens opportunities, it creates opportunities, it opens doors, it allows people to respect me and to respect my opinion. Yeah. So it definitely is. And it's also, I think, a good thing that I'll be able to tell my children. When I had my son, my assistant said to me, she was like, she still calls me Miss Maryam. She was like, Miss Maryam, do you know what it means to be Maryam's son? Do you know, like, you know what he doesn't know what he stepped into right now. And, you know, but it's definitely a legacy that I'm really, or let me just say a background that I'm really happy to be able to usher my children into, and now they have to now they're going to have to exceed that.
Awesome. Yeah. So what did you study? Your profession, like what you study, your majors or
Yes. So while I was at Stanford, I majored in human biology and minored in African studies. The reason was because I initially thought I wanted to be a medical doctor.
Yeah.
And I'd always been very good in the sciences. I thought I was going to be a great doctor. I took physics, chemistry, and biology in secondary school, and I got A1s in all of them. Yeah. So everyone was like, wow, Maryam, you're going to be a great doctor. So I always thought I wanted to be a doctor. But at Stanford, I got the opportunity to do an internship. And part of the internship was involved observing a surgery. And it was a cutting-edge surgery because Stanford Hospital was a teaching hospital. So a daughter was donating half of her liver to her mother. And both of them were on the operating table, and they were going to cut the daughter and immediately transfer the liver. So the surgery was going to happen. It was about a 12-hour surgery and all of that. And I was given this huge opportunity through my internship to observe the surgery. This was an opportunity that even some medical students wanted, and they didn't get it. And I mean, the moment the anesthesiologist kind of knocked the lady out, the daughter, and one of the surgeons made the first cut, I just felt dizzy, and I had to leave. I had to leave the observing place, the observation room. Yes, and you know, when I left, I felt really bad because I took an opportunity that someone else would have really wanted. But that was my defining moment. That's when I knew that I wasn't meant to be a doctor. And even up until now, I don't like blood. I don't like to watch surgeries or cuts or things. I don't like things like that. So I studied biology, and once I realized that that wasn't for me in my junior year, I then started the journey of I started searching again what I wanted to do. And I think I sort of made this decision in a hurry, but in a way, I think that it was still God's guidance. Ultimately, if you were a biology major at Stanford at the time, we always said that you had just two options. You were either going to go to graduate school or you were going to go into teaching. And if you were going to go to graduate school, you were going to be a researcher. And I knew that I also didn't really enjoy research very much. I was just starting a fashion company. All the researchers I knew at Stanford, they wore white lab coats. They were in their labs all the time. And I just didn't see the excitement in what they did. So then I said, okay, the next option for me is teaching. I need to prepare myself to teach biology. So then I went to Harvard to study education and to specialize in teaching.
Wow.
That's how I got to Harvard. And education then grew to become a real passion of mine.
Okay. Awesome. So you were leaving Harvard. That was around the time that we met, I think, right?
Yes.
So
It was we met in my around that period of self-discovery at the start of my senior year at Stanford. That was when we met. We didn't meet physically, but I met you through your sermons first. Before I met you in person.
Oh wow, tell us about that. You were listening to my sermons.
Yes. So once I discovered that I didn't want to be a medical doctor anymore, I decided to go on a journey of self-discovery. And one of the things I decided to do quite late in my career at Stanford was to study abroad. Most people did this in their second or their third year. But I decided that since I didn't know what I wanted to do anymore, I was going to apply to study abroad in my senior year. Unfortunately, I got in. So I got into the Stanford in Paris program, and I went to Paris to study for a quarter, which was 4 months. But when I was there, the church that I was going to in Chicago didn't have their sermons online. They weren't streaming their messages.
In Chicago? Was it
Yes.
Chicago? Oh.
No, the church in California.
California, yeah.
The church in California did not have their sermons online.
Yeah.
You could only buy the CDs at the church after the sermons. And my French wasn't very good. So I went to a few French churches, but I couldn't understand the messages. So after a few weeks of being there, I became quite frustrated. And I reached out to Soji, my friend, and I told him that I feel like my spiritual life is just on the decline because I'm not able to connect with my home church in Chicago, and I don't understand.
California.
Oh, sorry, my home church in California, and I don't understand the sermons in Paris. Then Soji said, oh, wow, my church in Chicago streams all their messages online. Everything is on the internet. It's on their website. Or it was audio only at the time. But Pastor Lan, you've always been very tech forward.
Thank
God. So all the messages were online. And I remember I started listening and I just became sort of hooked. You had this series that you ran, and it was, I think, stories of people, or I don't remember what it was, but it was a series, and there was a whole string of messages. Like when you went on the website, you would see all the sound bites. Yes, about 10 or 12 of them. So I started listening, and I just got completely, let me just say, addicted really to the messages. I listened and I listened and I listened. I started to know people at the church that I had never known, like Olumide and Peju, because you would call them out in your sermon. So that was really when I first discovered City Light. It was through your messages and through Soji.
And I think the first time we will communicate, did you send me, I think you sent me a message or something.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think I sent you a Facebook message. And I told you that I just wanted to let you know that your messages have blessed me tremendously, that I paid my tithe that month into City Light. Yes, I told you that.
The thing is that it's very possible for me to still have that message.
Perhaps.
I'm going to go my Facebook. I say, wow, let me look at this message.
History, it's even now, it's really amazing.
There was one thing that happened. There was one day, I can't forget this, and this is, this will lead us forward in our story, actually. So we're going to buy some TVs for the church. Like we're putting up some TVs. I think we just moved. Either we just no, we're not even moved into this building. You understand? Because you were here when we moved to this building, right? We're still in the park and all that. We wanted to go and buy some TVs that we use for all that. So it was I think it was either Joe and I or Esco and I that we just got to the store, right? So we went there and there was something about the price, right? About the price of the TVs there, like these light TVs and whatever. And then suddenly I just got an alert or some kind of alert that Maryam Garba has donated something. You went, but you sent something then, and it was that money that we used to buy that TV.
Wow.
It just came a lifetime when we're there.
I like that story.
Yeah, that marked my mind. Yeah.
Wow.
So we started communicating and everything.
Yes.
And then the next thing you just said, you got a job in Chicago.
I got a job in Chicago. It was unbelievable. A job that I wasn't qualified for as a management consultant. And I got the job in Chicago before I even finished graduate school. I had the offer. And they offered me 2 cities, Detroit it was Detroit. Each of me in Detroit. So I thought they were going to hire me in Detroit. But my offer came in Chicago. And I remember, I think Soji was living in Chicago at the time. So when I came to look for an apartment, I reached out to him and he went around with me. Oopsie, sorry, the power will soon come back on.
Okay.
It's raining heavily here.
So
yeah, so don't worry, it's raining heavily here, but the power will soon be back on.
Okay.
Anyway, Soji, was looking at apartments with me. And I remember, I think I sent you another email at this point, Paslan, and I said, I know exactly what church I'm supposed to go to. There isn't a question about this. So that was for me, it was a no-brainer. I didn't shop for churches or anything of the sort. I came straight to City Light.
So you come to Chicago, and how many years did you spend in Chicago?
I was in Chicago from 2011 till 2016, so 5 years.
Wow, 5 years. So tell me, what was that for you? What was your time at City Light and that Chicago time? What did that, what was the impact of that in your life? And then if you could go into a leading life training as you talk about that too. Yeah.
Yes. I think God used my time in Chicago to do several things in my life. One of the major things he did was he gave me the opportunity to pursue my entrepreneurial passion a bit more. So while I was at Stanford, I started my fashion company, but I never really had the resources that I needed to grow it because I was a student at the time. But I had a very good job when I came to Chicago. So it provided me with the money that I needed to produce my first line, to mass manufacture, to start marketing, build a website, and things of the sort. So really, a big part of the time in Chicago was spent on that. Chicago was also training ground for me in terms of managerial skills. Management consulting is a very, very competitive field, and the learning curve is very steep. So I learned a lot of skills, analytical skills, reasoning skills that I use almost every day at my work now. Even things like PowerPoint presentations, Excel sheets and things of the sort. We dealt with those every day and we had to be extremely meticulous. I was working for a German company and they were extremely detailed. So I learned, I've always thought I was a detail-oriented person, but I learned to be even more detail-oriented. And the other thing that happened in Chicago, yes, I'm back. Thank you. Thank you for being patient with that. The other thing that happened in Chicago, especially with my spiritual life and meeting you, growing in the church, was my faith grew, especially when I lost my job. I got laid off at some point from the consulting company, and it was a time of self-doubt for me.
I remember that day when I got that call.
It was not a good time. I cried. It was winter. I got laid off in December. It was winter, and I'll never forget. It was such a cold day. It was below zero, but I walked all the way from the office to my house, and I didn't feel the cold because I was so devastated. But that's history now. But I think that was another thing that, another experience I think that God allowed me to go through to allow me to grow.
Yeah.
Because it was after that I started working with the church
Yeah.
as, at the Nick Center as a curriculum development director, and, started doing more work in education.
Yeah.
So Chicago was definitive for me in growing as an entrepreneur and growing as an educationist.
Yeah. All right. So around that same time, so that you were working at a city light then, and leading the Nick Center, doing all those stuff, you came to the Leading Lights training. What was that for you? And then use that to talk about how you were able to really settle on what your purpose in life is.
Yes. Leading Lights was transformational in my life. I watch some of the Leading Lights cohorts now, and they say, oh, we finished it in one weekend, we finished it in one day. In my time, Leading Lights took it was a much bigger time investment, So and we got certificates, we got awards. It was such a big deal when you completed it. I know it's still a big deal, but there were many Saturdays and Sundays that were spent learning, talking, exchanging. And some of the friends that I made in my Leading Lights cohort, like Pisa and Ruby, that was when I became quite close to them, and we've become lifelong friends. They're still friends I consider real friends.
I know we still use your notes now. We still use it in the.
I'm so honored.
Yeah, we've taught many of those things in 12 minutes of now. We have them. We still have some of the things you wrote. A lot of them in the Leading Light PowerPoint. That's what became the notes for Leading. Because we were meticulous in all your notes and everything.
Wow.
Yeah,
Sorry. Gone off again.
Yeah,
I might be doing a power switch anyways.
Okay.
Yes, but I think one of the major things that Leading Lights helps me do was it helps me to organize my thoughts, my ideas about myself. You help me to put it down into paper and to organize it well. So I remember one of the greatest things I walked away was what I called my 10 Fs. You helped me to identify my values and to put them together in a way that I would remember what they were, so that at any point in time, I will never forget something you always told us, Pastor Lan. You said, if there's any time where two of your values are in conflict, move in the order of priority that they are for you. So if something that has to do with your family is conflicting with something that has to do with your friends, since your family ranks higher than your friends, then you need to put the thing that has to do with your family first. So that was something you always taught me, that we must order our values so that we know our priorities in life. And that was, I did that, and it really clarified a lot of things for me.
Awesome. So from there, we had a name for you, because at the Leading Lights training, we always get a name for someone. I don't think we started acronyms by the time you did it, but we would just give a particular name.
Yes.
Do you remember what yours was?
Yes, I'm the wealth builder.
I remember. The wealth builder, and we're going to talk about that right now. Wealth builder. So let's talk about wealth. So when you came to the Leading Lights training, you centered on that I am called to entrepreneurship and to build wealth and to use the wealth to make impact, right? That's basically the summary of it, through education and all that. So I still remember there was a time I sent you something. There were some things you wrote in your portfolio. One of the things you said was that, you were going to do something. You were going to help African students get into.
Yes.
You're going to like something about. Yeah, maybe you can talk about it. Yeah.
You know what's amazing is that it's amazing. When you write things down and you see those things coming to pass. One of the things I said was I was extremely passionate about lifting people from poverty into wealth, because that was my parents' story, and I saw the power of entrepreneurship and education, those two things together in lifting people out. And I said, yes, my passion was to help Africans, poor Africans, to get the educational opportunities that would avail them of the entrepreneurial opportunities as well, to lift themselves out of poverty. So that really was sort of like my mission statement, I think, coming out of the Leading Lights training.
Yeah, and so fast forward from the Leading Lights training, that purpose, that wealth building, what, how is that playing? How did that play out? How is it playing out?
Adapt, yeah. Yes, I think similar to my parents, I had some business initiatives that either were not as successful or not successful at all. But one of the greatest things that I got out of Leading Lights, when I came out of Leading Lights, I started a focus group called the Billionaires Club.
Yes,
And we
that
used
is
to meet every week.
awesome. Yeah.
Yes, we used to meet every week to talk about what we were doing to create wealth. We were accountable to each other. We tracked our net worth and we tried to pay off our debt. And the Billionaires Club still exists, actually, although right now we meet primarily on WhatsApp. But we eventually grew to like BC1, BC2, BC3.
Yeah.
So some members started businesses. We started buying property. We we just pursued financial growth. Another thing that came out of the Billionaires Club was the contribution group, the Agile group,
Yes,
which is being run
still going
extremely well. This is an incredible thing for me. It's being run extremely well by Grandma Ijibola, my favorite grandma in the world. She's taking it to a level that I never imagined, and I hear the amounts that people are contributing now every month, and I'm amazed at what God has done. Yes, but that was one of the things that we started at the Billionaires Club, to give people the seed capital that they needed to either buy property or pay off their debt, or pay off student loans, or just buy a car, whatever it was that you needed to do to get started. So that came directly out of Leading Lights.
Yeah. So tell me about wealth building. So what is wealth building? How do you build wealth from your own experience and what you've learned, what you are doing, before we go on to more stuff that you're doing now? But just let's talk about wealth building a little bit.
Yes, I'm extremely passionate about wealth creation because I think that's how of course, there are certain things that you pass on and you must pass on to the next generation, like your values and all of that. But one of the greatest things I think every parent should do for their child is to leave wealth behind. The Bible even tells us that a good man lays up not even just for himself, but for his children's children. So my definition of wealth, to begin with, is a person who has enough that even the second generation coming after them would be able to live off comfortably. Not because you want to raise lazy children, but I feel that if you're someone who is still struggling to survive on your own and you haven't even started thinking about your children or your grandchildren, then you're still on your way to wealth. So wealth is not when you are financially comfortable. Wealth is when two generations coming after you can be comfortable based on what you've prepared for them. Now, how do people build wealth, or what do I think is a significant process? Or how do I think it's, you can create wealth? It's definitely a process, and I think it's a gradual process. You don't have to be a star. You don't have to be a savvy person. You don't have to be the most educated person. But I think there are just certain principles that anybody and everybody should try to do. The first one is to save. Anybody who is wealthy must be an avid saver. I know some people say, well, if you make a whole lot of money, then you don't need to be as good at saving as others are. Yes, that's true. But obviously, our lifestyles are always in competition with our ability to save. So what happens most times when people get a raise at work is that they elevate their lifestyle to meet the level of the raise. But you have to be thinking in the opposite direction, which is, if my income goes up, my savings needs to even go up. So if I was,
let me ask you a question on that. So, what about those people who say that I don't have income? I mean, how do you get income? Like, how do you, before you get to saving, like, how do you start producing money? What are the, at least you need to have some income before you can save. Yeah.
Right. Okay. So even if you don't have any income, money comes into your hands somehow, either as a gift, either because people know that you're struggling and they're just trying to support you, or because you do odd jobs, or because you run errands for people. But there must be a way that money comes into your hands. And whatever that way is, you must maximize it. So if you notice that people are tipping you for for a particular service or particular assistance that you've offered to them, then
Yeah.
you need to continue to do more of that. Let me give an example. The person who is now my personal assistant in Nigeria, I met her at a training. I ran a training, an entrepreneurship training, and she came to me and she said, "I'm unemployed. I've been looking for a job for so many years. I don't know what business I could start and all of that." And I just gave her some advice. But what was amazing about this lady was she started coming to my office almost weekly to say, "Is there anything I can help you to do?" And when she would be going, I would give her transport money to go back home. But what I started to notice as she started to come to my office was that she was extremely organized. I'm pretty organized, and I arrange my things very well. So it's for me to say someone is organized, that person is organized, because there are very few people that understand how I like my things to be done. But she would arrange my files exactly the way I wanted them. She would even bring in a higher level of order. Like if my files were just lined up, she would then arrange them in alphabetical order. If the label was coming off of one, she would take it off and put a new label. So she brought in a higher level of order. And I started to notice that this lady's gift is organization. She does things even better than I want them to be done. And now she's become, my personal assistant. And that's actually how she got the job. Her gift is organization. So whatever it is that people like about you or people appreciate about you, that's probably the key to what you could start doing for them to offer an income. If they like how you play music, if they like how you sing, if they like how you dress, whatever it is they like or they appreciate about you, tap more into that. That's probably where the early income would start to come from.
And even what you like to can turn your own passion into profit in one way or the other. Awesome. So, I want us to emphasize this because people don't know that. Personally, one of the miracles of wealth that we lost Instagram because we reached 1 hour, but we're going to restream back to Instagram, to continue streaming back to Instagram, as you know, they're working on that right now. I wanted to say that before it went, but they'll get back there so that people who are watching on Instagram will be able to join us, continue to join us. So I've discovered the simple secret of, the first basic thing of building wealth is what you talked about, savings. There's just something about if you put some money aside, that money that you put aside, it's like, I don't know how to explain it. It just keeps growing and multiplying itself. It finds a way to multiply itself. A lot of people have never got into that simple secret. In that book, Richest Man of Babylon, that's what he was talking about.
Yes, exactly. That was a book that my father gave me. And in fact, during one of his community intervention sessions, because the book is now, the copyright has expired, so you can mass produce it. My father told me to produce 1,000 copies of that book, and he distributed it to the youth. Because he said, if you can even just master what this book talks about, which pretty much is save 10% of any money that comes to you, you will be able to break out of poverty in 7 years. And it's really, that's exactly what it is. Saving 10%, being disciplined. Of course, there will be times, for example, in this time of the pandemic, people have had to draw on their savings. But it's your life, your quality of life doesn't drop so badly when you have savings. You're able to invest. I would have lost, my husband and I started building our house in Nigeria as soon as we got married. And we were using our incomes to do that. And when the pandemic came, I run a school, and schools were closed. So that source of income pretty much shut down for us. And I would have lost 6 or 7 months of work if we didn't have any savings. So fortunately, we had savings. So we're able to continue the work, and we completed the work at the time of the pandemic. So it's so important for people to save 10%. And the more money you earn, the more your savings should be. There was something I said at City Light or when I did Leading Lights, and I thank God that that's coming to pass in my life right now. I received scholarships growing up, especially when it was time for me to go to the United States. I received scholarships, and I see many gifted students in Nigeria who I believe can unleash more of their potential if they're exposed to an international platform. So one of my dreams was always to be able to send students that have potential out of the country to be educated. And I thank God, because my first student went out in January.
Wow, awesome.
yes, he got more than 85% scholarship, but the 15% left, I'm
Yeah.
paying for that. And that was a dream come true for me.
That's
And I
part of
still
what you wrote at Leading Light.
right, right. And I you mentioned that earlier, and I said it's amazing how God, kind of brings these things to fruition. And I believe that that's the first of God winning hundreds to
Mm-hmm.
come. But you can only do things like that when you have the. It's not. I mean, I'm not doing it because I have all the money that I need, or I'm the richest person. I'm not, but I'm comfortable enough that I'm not thinking about my survival, and I believe that I'm sowing a seed in his life. I don't know what he's going to become in the future, but I know that he's going to be someone great, and I believe that he will then be able to pay this forward to impact even more young people in the future.
So listen, guys, save, save. I mean, I can tell you, when you put money aside, you can be doing just little, little, little. There's just something about just doing little consistently. It just starts to grow.
Yes.
And then when it grows to a particular point, the mystery that I've seen is that an opportunity will just show up that you can use it for to multiply it. And then it looks, and I'm telling you, it looks like that amount that you're putting in there, like that amount comes back into the savings again. It's there. It's like it just never stops.
It doesn't stop at all. It's discipline. And what savings also does for you is that it positions you to be able to take advantage of opportunities when they present themselves. I remember when I was living in Chicago, I had some savings. It wasn't a whole lot, but I had some savings because when I left my job, I had savings. I was given a severance package and all that. Mm-hmm. And then a piece of property came on sale in downtown Chicago. And I think it was like $100,000 or $95,000. But the sellers only wanted
success. Yeah, we lost. We're getting IG back in a moment.
Okay.
So all right, they're working on that.
All right. The sellers only wanted cash, but it was a wonderful piece of property situated downtown. I knew that even that $100,000 they were asking for was less than the market value. Because of the location of the property. But anyways, I had a good amount of savings. And then I reached out to my parents, and they helped me with the balance of the money. So I was able to buy. I think ultimately we bought the property, or I bought the property for maybe $90,000. That was the offer, $95,000.
I remember that. I remember that.
That was in 2015.
Yeah.
Right. Now, when I came back to Nigeria, I came back in 2016. In 2018, 3 years later, an investor decided that he wanted to buy the entire building. He wanted to tear down the building.
That's the one on LaSalle, right?
The one on LaSalle. So he decided that he was going to pay off all the individual owners so that he could own the entire property and tear it down. He wanted to build a brand new condo. And the owners voted on whether the property should be sold or not. And it was a majority yes vote. So the property went into sale. The long and short of it is that when the property got sold, I got $155,000.
Look at that. That's almost
so 8%. More than double, almost double. Because I bought it for about 90-something thousand. So I made about $60-something thousand on it in 3 years.
Wow.
So that was money that if I didn't have the seed savings at the time to take advantage of what looked like a small opportunity, because I know that the real estate market in Chicago was growing at a rate of maybe 1 or 2% per annum. But I got way more than that. So I think, just like you said, savings, even if you're not able to start a business, even if you're not able to, you're not in a very high earning job or anything of the sort, just that principle of saving, like you said, save 10%, no less than 10% if you can help it. And if you pull from your savings, you must put it back. You must put it back. So anybody that's taking money out of their savings during this time of the pandemic, the moment money starts coming into your hands, replenish the savings as fast as you can. Don't say, oh, the money is gone. I can't do anything about it. Put that money back. And in fact, put in the one that you should have put in when you were, the one that looks like it's lost. Save that as well, so that you don't know what opportunity this pandemic is going to present in 2020. Maybe businesses that want to sell off because they're bankrupt or because they just need to liquidate as quickly as possible, or real estate, properties that people can no longer pay their mortgages on and they're just trying to get rid of them. So there are opportunities that will come out of this for those that are financially prepared.
And you have to make it mandatory. So there are, talking live now, people can hear me. There are some things that are mandatory. So when I get any kind of income, the first thing that I would do, of course, is pay my tithe, give generous. The next thing is I save. I save every week. I save towards, I call it wealth accounts. I save towards my kids' college every week. I'm actually even getting other kids that are not my kids and saving towards, some people they don't even know, to give them when they're 21,
Wow.
Yeah. So because your parent did that for you, right? That's the first thing. Even if after doing that, there's no whatever, I don't care. But the thing is that when you do that, you will always have more. And one of the, let me just say this thing to people so that they can hear. You see, one of the reasons why you don't have money, like you go through money problem, is because, it's because of our feeling towards money. Like when you're always tensed towards money and you are in a scarcity mentality, you will always lack money. You always be in that scarcity mode, physically. So one of the things that saving does for you, this, when you just look at that account, that the money is growing in there, that you are not touching, it gives you the feeling of having. It just gives you that, at least I have this one. The stress is removed, and that allows you to attract more money, right?
Exactly. You might be broke, but you're not poor.
Yeah.
I talk a lot about my assistant because she's someone that I've seen many transformational changes in her life. She's someone who came from extreme poverty as well, from a polygamous background, didn't have all the opportunities that should have equipped her. And when I got to know her, I discovered that even after she started getting the salary, she wasn't saving any money. And I asked her why she wasn't saving, and she said she has a lot of family liabilities. Her father is, sick. She's paying medical bills. The sisters have children. She's helping to support this one in school help. And I said, okay, you come first, right? After God, you come first. So before you settle before you help anybody else, you must set aside your 10%. Once you've done that, whatever is left is what you can give to others. But you cannot compromise your own security, because the poverty that you grew up in, you don't want your children to grow up in that. So you must break that first of all by setting your children up for success. Even if you've not had your kids yet, plan in advance and begin to set them up for success. To even give another example, when we got married, when my husband and I got married last year, one of the things people do in Nigeria when you're getting married is they give you money, they give you cash. I know in the US it's more of a registry system, but in Nigeria we got a lot of money and we were given a lot of cash. We got quite a good amount of money for our wedding. And when we finished the wedding, I had this money and we had just started our lives. We wanted nice furniture, we wanted a comfortable house, we wanted to start off our lives very well. But I felt that we should save the money that we had. So we put the money into treasury bills in Nigeria, which last year was paying about 11% interest. So we did that and we took a more modest house and just lived off of what we had. Now that money, and I locked it down. I locked that money down for a year. Usually the treasury bills, they allow you to do 3 month cycles, but I decided to lock down that money for a year. So a year later, I earned 11% interest on the money, and that a year later was sort of the pandemic, because we got married in August of 2019, and a year later was kind of about 2 or 3 months ago. So that was another wave of money that came in when things were hard, when things were tough. But the bank had already made a commitment to me that they were going to pay me my money with 11%. So even with the pandemic, I got my money. So it's important in those seasons as well, when money flows, because there are seasons when money flows and there are seasons when money, it's like the rainy season and the dry season. There are times when it rains.
In Egypt, he said there's the time of when that dream of Pharaoh, the lean cows and then the fat cows, said that there will be 7 years of everything coming or whatever, and then there'll be another one. So they started saving then. That is so powerful.
I really believe that what is coming after this pandemic is a season of extreme abundance. Extreme abundance, because we've gone through a season of extreme hardship. And I know it's really hard to imagine abundance in a time of scarcity, but that's just how it works. After abundance is scarcity after scarcity, and we were coming from a period of extreme economic prosperity when the pandemic happened. So it's only it's only, I think, fair to imagine that what is coming is extreme prosperity. So I hope what everybody has learned from this pandemic as we go into the future is whatever comes my way, I'm going to save as much as I can. I'm going to put aside, I'm going to lay aside. What Joseph did was he saved 20% for 7 years, and that was more than enough to sustain Egypt and the surrounding nations. So 20% in 7 years can liberate you and those around you from poverty.
That is so powerful. Somebody needs to type that. Help us put that in 20% for 7 years will not only sustain you, but we can liberate your family, can liberate your generation and people all around you.
Those around you, exactly. Because that was what Joseph did for Egypt. One man did that for an entire nation. So I think that's a biblical principle. And if you're not a whiz, if you're not a genius, you can just try to apply that and grow financially.
Okay, so savings. So we talked about income, we talked about savings, and then you started talking about investing. So can you talk more about wealth building in terms how, apart from like investing, how does that work? For somebody who's watching.
Of course. So once you have savings and you're no longer very concerned about your day-to-day survival or worried about if something were to go wrong, maybe an illness or an emergency, usually people say an emergency fund should be anywhere from 3 to 6 months of what you need. So I always make sure that no matter what I'm investing, I always have cash of at least 6 months to sustain me. So that I don't have to, because real estate, for example, is difficult to liquidate. And you don't want to sell out of desperation. You want to sell when it's the right time. And the stock market as well.
Some emergency cash, not to be that you're just keep something.
That you're holding.
That you're holding.
And, the stock market, it might not always be the right time to sell. So you don't want to ever sell because you don't have an option. You want to sell because it's your decision at the time. So once you've obviously set your emergency fund aside, it's time to then start to look at what other investment tools you have or that you can access. Real estate is very important, especially real estate in the region where you are. So you have to kind of look around and see, okay, what are people doing that's paying them? When I was in the US, I bought property because that was what was that was real estate at the time, rental properties. A lot of people around me were doing flips, but I never felt comfortable or knowledgeable enough to go into flipping properties. But when I came to Nigeria, the opportunity that I saw here was more in buying lands as opposed to buying properties, because the land actually appreciates. And the other thing I noticed that the land does, or what I noticed people were doing, was that they would acquire a plot and then wait until the area developed. And then maybe in about 10 years or 15 years, when the person was developing the property, or even if the person was choosing to develop at the time, they wouldn't build a single family home. They would build like an estate or a multi-level apartment. And they might even occupy one with their family and choose to sell out or rent the others. So that money kind of replenishes itself multiple times over, because if you buy maybe a 1,200 square meter plot, you can easily put a 12 terrace units there. And 12 terrace units in Abuja now, depending on the neighborhood, can sell anywhere from 25 million to 80 million naira. So if you buy that land for 20 million or 25 million and you end up with 10 units that you're able to sell for even 20 million each, that's at least a tenfold return on your investment. So land is definitely a good way to go. Then the other thing that's really
like your light went off again, so
sorry about that. I think this is what they call it. Looks like a partial current anyways, but I'm hoping it'll pick up shortly. Yes, so apart from real estate, the other thing that I strongly recommend is entering the stock market at whatever level of experience you have. I'm not a trader. I know people who are active traders. They trade every day, they trade every week, they're monitoring the stock market every day. I'm not that savvy with the stock market. But what I definitely do is I'm a long-term investor, and I've seen that pay off for me. So things like my my IRA, I still maintain my IRA in the US, which is my retirement account. I have that which is tax free. I maximize that every year,
Yep.
and I just buy stocks. One of the wealth managers I spoke with when I lived in America advised me to buy stocks that follow the stock market. So, like the S&P 500, there are many stocks that or ETFs
Index fund.
Index funds that mirror that. I invest in technology funds and I aggregate. So these are like medium risk, medium return. But it's actually been over the last 3-4 years, it's steadily gone up. So there are times when it declines. There are times when you do see a dip.
Yeah.
But I remember something. I have a friend who's a financial wealth advisor at Morgan Stanley, and he tells me all the time. He says, "Maryam, even those of us who are in this industry, we are not day traders. We don't trade every day with our money.
No, you just leave it. You leave it there.
Just leave it." Yes, he said, "Put it there. Forget about it. We trade with your money, but we don't trade with our money."
Yeah.
So he said, because at the time I was talking to him and asking him to manage my money, and he said, "No, I'm going to be playing with your money. I'm not going to advise you to do that." So he says, until you get to a certain point where maybe 1%, a 1% move in the market is negligent. It's negligible for you. It doesn't matter. I don't want to encourage you to do this. Just buy and forget about it.
Yeah.
So the stock market is very good. Then there was a training that we had. There was a pastor that came to City Light. Yes. And he introduced other wealth instruments. At the time, he talked about intellectual property, which was something that I never really thought about as being a source of wealth, but it's actually very important. So one of the things I do, for example, now there's a website in the US called Teespring, where you can design t-shirts, and if people like your t-shirt designs, they'll buy them and you'll get paid the commission. So Pastor Olumide talked a lot about intellectual property being things that can make you money, like your books, your music, and things like that. So I started apps and things of the sort. So I started exploring those kinds of initiatives. Udemy is also a platform that I'm exploring right now, because you can, when you train on a topic or when you give a lecture, if people buy those courses, you get paid.
I have made money from intellectual properties every single month for the past maybe 15 years.
Wow.
Yeah, like I get money from intellectual property. Apart from my preaching, which is part of intellectual property, I'm talking about books, I'm talking about apps, I'm talking about all that. And it's just passive income being deposited. I'm not doing anything, just let people know that when you work and use your mind also, it's another way of creating wealth.
Yes, exactly. So, and I like the word that you used, passive income, which means that you make the investment upfront, and then it pays you over time. So definitely intellectual property, and then business. Business is extremely important. Start a business if you can. It doesn't have to become a multi-million-dollar business, but as long as it's putting money in your pocket. My mom always says something. She says, even if 10 naira is entering your pocket every day, you're better than the person who's spending 50 naira every day, because something is entering your pocket every day. So no matter how modest your business is, as long as it's putting something, Starbucks, for instance, you only give them $3 or $4 every day. The cell phone companies in Nigeria, there's some people that only buy 50 naira credit every day, but every day that 50 naira is being deposited in that person's account. So it's making them wealthier. And so it's definitely, no one should look down on their businesses. People who sell eggs make 30, 40 naira per egg every day, but it's better than nothing. Over time, that 30, 40 naira will it would accumulate. It will become something significant. So starting a
business gives you a lot of tax savings, especially in the United States. Even if you just have a side business, a home business, a lot of the expenses can become expenses, which saves you a lot of taxes. So that is one of the strategies of business.
Yeah, and you learn. I mean, starting a business is a different type of education. They don't teach you really how to start a business in school, and even if they do, you wouldn't know if you've learned until you actually started a business. So the skills that you learn running a business are also life skills, like budgeting, marketing, planning, paying your bills. Those are all life skills that are extremely important. So it's a way to improve yourself as well.
Let me just summarize what we're saying for everybody. To build wealth, the simple thing is that you have to multiply assets.
Yes.
Assets, not liabilities. Assets, not liabilities. The world will teach you, generally society, if you are looking at society, will teach you to acquire liabilities.
Yes.
They will talk about the latest car or the biggest
Yes.
car. They will talk about even sometimes houses that you go and buy,
Yes.
like that you live in, that is just one huge house or something that is not bringing money to you. It's a
Yes.
liability. It's taking money away
Yes.
from you because you are going to have to support it. You have to pay the insurance, the mortgage, and when you buy a house, like that, I'm not saying you shouldn't buy your house, houses are good and all that, but I want you to think assets, right?
Yes.
The person who actually has the asset is the mortgage company. The mortgage
Yes.
that you have is an asset for them because it's bringing money to them every month. But for you, it's taking money from you every month. But if
Exactly.
you have an investment part to it where it's bringing money to you, either you're renting it out, you're doing Airbnb, you're doing whatever, then it becomes
It becomes a
an
yes.
asset.
If I can just even add something to that, there's something that I started doing recently. Um, is sort of I'm starting to try to develop a more minimalist mindset, and what that means is whatever I have around me that I'm not using, I'm going to sell it off.
Yeah.
After my wedding, I spent a lot of money buying my wedding dress, and immediately after the wedding, I said I need to sell this dress. It's taking up space, and I'm not going to use this dress again. So I immediately looked for a bridal shop. I took the dress, and not just that dress, I took all my other dresses, the ones I used for my reception, everything. I took it to them and I said, sell it off. Some of the people around me at the time were like, no, 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 these are beautiful dresses. You'll definitely use them. But I mean, in a year, how many black tie events do I attend?
Yeah.
But these dresses were going to give me at least some, a bit of money. And some of them took almost a year to sell. But even at the time of the pandemic, because weddings continued during the pandemic, so even during the pandemic, I got some money from those wedding dresses that I put out there. So that's the thing now. once I'm done using something, whether it's cutlery, I'm either giving it away or I'm selling it. I don't have to get the value that it was. But there's no point accumulating things that are not generating an income or that are not paying for themselves. So give things out, sell things off. That's income as well, right? Getting rid of excess things. I don't think you need to wait until things are so worn out that you can't make use of them anymore. So whatever it is you have in your house, the hard drive, excess makeup, somebody is looking for that thing. So sell it off for a small amount of money. And then that money, which is sort of extra income, save it. One of the things I decided to do with the money that came from the sales of my wedding dresses, I opened a bank account for my son and I started putting the money in there. So when the money came, it was unexpected money. So because I didn't want to be tempted to spend it, I started putting it in my son's bank account. And I'm hoping that by the time maybe he's a bit older, he'll have an amount of money that will surprise even me.
Yeah. Because you are transferring what your parent did for you, you are passing it on, and it just keeps on going that way. Powerful. I know you have to, go and take care of your son. So let's around this, to round this up. Something just came to my mind. I remember one time I sent you an email. I think it was in the night or whatever, and I said, I saw something that you are going in the next something. You are going to find a man. You are going to marry. Both of you are going to be aligned. You're going to. I don't even remember. There was a book. I said, read this book.
Yes.
And this, is going to happen. Did it happen?
Yes, it did. The book that you told me to read, you sent it to me. It was a tiny, very, very small book, actually. Yes. And it was all about just the power of what we continue to declare over our lives and how important it is. I moved to Nigeria in February of 2016, and I met Nathaniel in...
We're going to answer your question. Success. Let's finish this. Okay.
I met Nathaniel in June of 2016, and our journey started then. We got married in August of 2019, so 3 years later. During that time, Nathaniel went to the US for his master's. We did our introduction and all that. So it was a journey, and I thank God that I remember when I wanted to come to Nigeria, I was really doubtful about a lot of things. I wasn't sure if this was where I was supposed to be. I was afraid. I wasn't sure if I was going to have the freedom that I had in the US. I wasn't sure if I was going to be very successful. But I look back at the last 4 years and I know that God has been in every part of this plan.
I remember in this office that I am, right, where we sat down there and I told you,
Yes,
it's
you
time
told
to
me
go to
to
Nigeria.
go. You told me to go. You
Go.
told me to go, and I will forever appreciate you for that, Pastor Nan. I will forever appreciate you for that. Thank you so much. It was the right decision.
Yeah, awesome. So let's round it up. Let's answer this question. Then I'm going to ask you one question about your big picture, right? Your big picture with all this in terms of your what you want to do in the kingdom of God with the wealth and all that. Let's answer this. What are the business opportunities or investment opportunities that international students can engage besides intellectual properties? In fact, I remember a DSO saying, I can't be allowed to write a book for reason of F1 status. Not sure if you were an international student. Did you experience that barrier?
Okay, so yes, I did. Even when I started working as a management consultant and I had my fashion business on the side, I remember even the human resources manager at the company kept calling me and telling me that they're hearing that I have a business, that I'm doing other things outside of the company, and that I must only do the company's work and all of that. This is my thought on it. I definitely think that everybody wants to be around the success, right? Everybody wants, and your name is success. Everybody wants, once you have that massive success, everybody's going to want to associate themselves with you. Mm-hmm. So definitely just do it, right? You may need to talk to a lawyer to get the details of what, should I publish as a Nigerian, or am I publishing from Nigeria? Or if I travel to Nigeria in December and publish my book from there, is it still considered, that I was publishing on university time and all of that? But find ways around it, because if you're not doing that, you're wasting time. There's something my dad tells me a lot that's stuck with me, and that is learn on other people's money, learn on other people's time. Mm-hmm. That way you're preparing yourself. So while you're at university where someone else is paying your bills, that's the perfect time to start a business or to start investing, because you're not paying to learn those lessons at that time. Somebody else is paying for you to be in university. So if you have the time, do it. Don't accept the no, right? Because you're going to be sitting at home for 3-4 years, and all you have is your college degree. So if you feel that you have the capacity to do more, by all means do more. I learned a lot starting a fashion business out of college, and I made some money doing that. And even when I came back to Nigeria, many of my clients remained with me. So definitely find ways around it. There must be ways around that, especially now that we live in an international world. I need to do more research to know technically what you can do, but there must be something you can do. If what you want to do is write a book, there must be a way that you can write and publish a book.
Well, nobody will stop you from, write your book in your house, do all that. When it's time to publish it, you publish it. So those things are on the books, but I don't think anybody enforces them, especially when you are being productive. In fact, they actually give visas based on people's performance. Like when you become, there's a level of a type of visa that is for high achievers.
Yes,
exactly. People that become U.S. Permanent
residents. Exactly. They make exceptions. Yes. Like if you're Chimamanda Adichie or if you're Elon Musk now, nobody's going to ask whether you did things by the book. All they care about is you're an extreme success, and they want to associate with you. So go ahead. And if you're not an extreme success, then it means that you're just, maybe your business is small or your book is small, and that's fine. That means you're probably too small to create a massive, you're not owing so much in taxes or whatever. So if anything comes up, you can pay it off, right? But the worst that can happen is that you learn. Yeah. So
awesome. Thanks for answering that question. I hope that's okay. Success. So my 2 more questions. So this one, what's your big picture, like your role in the kingdom of God as you look into the future with wealth, with education, with all that? What do you see? Yeah, because that's what it is about. Being a light, in your generation. Yeah.
My definition of success will be how many millionaires and billionaires I can create, and how many students I can help to pursue their education at a very high level. If through what I've learned and what I'm able to do, I'm able to help a lot of people break out of poverty for themselves, I would be extremely fulfilled. And if I'm able to help a lot of children, especially talented, bright students who are very intelligent, if I'm able to put a lot of them through school, especially very good schools that help them to develop their potential even more, that would be for me a big part of all of this. I think that's the direction that I see God moving me into, is continuing to help people to find financial freedom, to create wealth, to pass on that wealth to their children, and to help young people from poor backgrounds to break out of poverty for themselves.
Awesome, awesome. And you are doing that now. You are leading a school in Nigeria. You are, investing in people's education and all that. So, and it continues to grow from there. Tell us 5 principles. That's how we're going to end. I usually ask that from everyone. If people came to meet you now, what is the secret of your life? Tell me 5 things, 5 principles that your life is built on.
Faith, determination. I'm fiercely determined. Sometimes determined to a fault. I had a recent experience where I was planning to have my son in the US, and there was COVID.
Yeah.
And I was determined to fly, and I actually booked a private jet. So, but we had to fight a war at home. That was really so. We fought a war at home for me to. It wasn't even a war at home. Something else happened that that made me not do that. But fierce determination, I think, is a major thing for me. Organization. I value organization extremely. Thoughts, like how you think. I write things a lot. I write down things a lot. I have journals I can show you my journals maybe from when I was, from my early days in secondary school. I have journals consistently. I've always written things down.
I remember when I introduced you to Evernote. I used to use it.
Yes, I still have Evernote. I keep my spiritual journal on my iPad using Evernote. That's what I still do. And I still follow my 3P formula. My praise, my pressures, and my prayer requests.
Awesome.
Yes. So yes, that's really important. So I mentioned faith, determination, organization, love for people, love for yourself, love for God, love for love for the greater community, the greater society, loving people. And something else I'm learning, I think, just kind of being in Nigeria, I want to call this, I don't really know what principle to call this, but just sort of that belief that everything will work out in the end. When I first came back to Nigeria and I started working at the school and I started running the school, we had some employees that left. And, there's some people that you feel that you've poured so much of yourself into them. Either you've invested, you've paid them the most you think you can pay them. You've been there for them, you've advised them, you've done so much for them, and then you see them leaving, and it hurts because you think that, wow, I never got what I thought I would have gotten from this relationship. And it was discouraging sometimes because I felt like I'd given so much and these people were walking away. Something that happened during this pandemic was so many people reached out that had left to say, I thank you for what you taught me when I was with you. So I recognized that so many people respected and valued what they learned while working with me. So even though it didn't seem like it at the time, and many of them keep reaching back out now. Even just this evening before this call, there was someone who left our early years that I had invested a lot in. She had a lot of potential and I believed in her, and she just came one day and said, her husband says the job is too stressful and she has to leave the job. This evening she sent me a whole bunch of resources and she said, I'm now marketing this early years product. I would love to use the school as a pilot ground. Just allow me to set up this space and use it, but I want to bring my clients to see it at your school. So it was it came together for me that it wasn't a waste. So I don't really know what principle to call that, but just that belief that in the end it'll all come together. It'll all come together in the end. Yeah.
Awesome. Wow. Thank you, Maryam. This has been so rich. Very rich discussion. I've been blessed. I believe that people that are watching have been blessed too. with your story, and then with that discussion about wealth. So I trust that somebody got something that you are going to go and work on, especially in this area of, at the beginning, we talked about legacy to our parents, the missionaries, people at our school and all that did not even know the impact, what's going to happen in the future, what they were doing, but they were just doing what they were led by God to do. And then we moved on to our own journey, and our parents, investments and all that, schooling, the importance of education. And then, we started talking about, discovering purpose, city light, leading light, and, finding out what is the center of your life, the core of your life, and beginning to work on it and just make it, your goal, your values in life, and just keep just harping at it and just going and going and going and going. And then, so many things that have happened since then. I am so grateful. I'm very proud of you. I always talk about you everywhere, so really, really proud of you. Great. I'm happy about your marriage. My son, I'm going to meet him,
We were supposed to come to Chicago, but very soon. And I want to thank you as well for always keeping me in mind and giving me this opportunity. It's this is divine, these conversations or whatever you think of me, it happens at very strategic times. So this is it's not a coincidence. Thank you very much for having me this evening.
Thank you. So everyone, thank you. Please, if people want to contact you, how can they contact you? What you do now, quickly talk about that and how they can reach you.
Yes, so I'm the development director at Premier International School, which is basically a business development position. So I'm responsible for growing the school and growing our operations. It's a family business. The best way to reach me is via email. I also have other businesses that I run. Many of them are in their early stage, phases. I had a fashion company for many years, and we're currently rebranding and re-strategizing. I'm getting into the agriculture business and the food business as well. So those are early stage businesses. But I think if anyone has a business idea that they'd like to talk about or discuss, I'm happy to talk more.
Is that correct? Or did I miss an L?
There's an L at the end of.
Okay, there's an L at the end. Okay, so everybody add an L to it.
Yes, please. Maryam Garba International.
So that's let me see if I can just quickly do it. So that's how you can reach her on social media. Just run ideas by her. Talk about wealth.
Yes.
That's she's a very helpful person. She will reach out to you at in good time when she's able to. So please reach out. I think did I correct now?
Yes, it's perfect. Thank you.
Okay, good. Yeah.
Yes.
So go ahead. You guys get that down and just reach out to her. So thank you very much, Maryam.
Thank you very much for having me, Pastor Van.
Yeah. So we will talk later. Everybody, bye-bye. I'm going to be coming back again tomorrow at 2 p.m. Central, 7 p.m. GMT with another powerful story. So please look out for that. Share this video, please. Like the video. Share it in whichever platform you are using to watch it, so that more people can be able to access it. We discover that the views that we get even after the meeting, sometimes after the things, sometimes more than the ones that we get during it, because people keep watching it and all that. So God bless you all. Maryam, you stay. You don't go yet. God bless you, everybody. We're going to be signing off right now. So bye-bye. See you guys tomorrow.